What I'm about to tell you is the closest thing I have found to emotional superglue. It is directly tied to the foundational things that anyone, anywhere wants. It's available to anyone who puts it to use, and if you do it right, you will make your audience feel things. And if you can make the audience feel the things that they want to feel, they will not be able to get enough of your content or of you. They may even remember a piece you created or remember you for years to come. It's some seriously powerful stuff, and it's all available for you when you learn how to give your audience what they actually want. Welcome to the Story Greenlight podcast, where we're all about empowering creators like you to tell your stories, connect with your audience, and create the impact that you were put on this planet to make. My name is Jeff Barch. I'm a coach, author, and entrepreneur with over 20 years of experience shaping content for ABC, NBC, Universal, Disney, Apple, and a whole bunch of others. My team and I support YouTube creators with followings in the hundreds to the many millions. At Story Greenlight, we believe that you matter, your message matters, and the world needs to hear what you have to say. What is up? You know, every once in a while I sit down and I think that I'm going to be talking about one thing, and I sit down and I write some notes and everything drops into place. And this has not been one of those times. This has been one of those times when I think I know what I'm going to talk about, and then I start asking some more questions, and it's when you have that one random thread sticking up from a sweater and you start pulling on it, and the next thing you know, you have a pile of yarn on the floor and the whole thing becomes unraveled. So let's start here. If you've not heard the podcast episode I did about how to tell a story on YouTube and anywhere else, definitely go and listen to that one first. It's episode 007 with a spy-worthy introduction to Match. And here's one of the main thoughts that I want to carry forward from that episode to this one. When it comes to telling stories, the true power of story does not come from the story itself. The real power comes from the emotion that the audience feels and the audience's desire for their own internal change. The way your audience feels is a very, very big deal. And if we can affect the way our audience feels, that is also a very big deal. So in order to do that, we got to back up a bit. I spent a very long part of my life being single and not wanting to be. It took over 30 years for me to actually meet and date and marry my wife, Chantel. And somewhere in my 20s, before all that actually happened, I was out on a blind date with a gal who, as with blind dates, you don't know them all that well. So I thought I would be cool and ask a really deep question. We actually had gone out to dinner at the old spaghetti factory on Sunset Boulevard in Hollywood. Actually, might have been on Hollywood Boulevard. Anyway, it's beside the point. And so we're sitting there in this old restaurant, and I'm leaning forward in my chair, and I say, "So tell me, what do you want?" She just kind of stared at me for a second, and she said, after thinking, she said, that's a really broad question. And she was right, and we did not go out on a second date. And in her defense, yes, that really was a broad question, because everyone, everywhere wants things. And I tried to map out some ideas to connect all this stuff together with desire and motivation and content creation and self-expression, and just imagine a mind map just exploding all over the place with 18,000 rabbit trails going every kind of different direction. It just got really messy really quickly. So maybe we can go there at some point, but for now, for the sake of conversation here, let's just agree that people do want things. And these days when people want things, the number one place that they go to get them is the internet. So unlike my lame, super broad question on the blind date all those years ago, let's ask a more focused question. And let's say, what do people want when they're consuming content on YouTube? And for the record, this applies to pretty much any online content, not just YouTube. As of this recording, Google is the largest search engine on the face of the planet. And Google owns the second largest search engine, and it's called YouTube. Some years ago, Google released a series of articles talking about the main things that people want when they're searching for content. And the most well-known article talks about things called micro moments, which are moments in time when people are prompted to go online, usually in this case, to grab their phone, and they want to satisfy a desire, something that they want. So the 4 main micro moments that Google described are, I want to know moments, I want to go moments, I want to do moments, and I want to buy moments. Now, other people have said that there should be a 5th micro moment, I want to watch moments. And we're going to get to that in a second. It's a bit different than the others. But for now, let's stick with the original 4 micro moments. And the thing that you'll notice is that they're all driven by questions that people want to get answered. So I want to know is driven by, what is the answer to my question? I want to go is, where should I go? Should I go here or should I go somewhere else? What do you think? What's your recommendation on where I should go? Then there's, I want to do. What can I do? Can I do this? Who else does this? That kind of thing. And then I want to buy. Where can I buy this? Should I buy this one or should I buy that one? And why? According to Google, one of the main reasons people consume content online is because people have questions, and it's Google's job to help them find answers to the questions. Here's the thing though, people might think that they want answers, but having the answers isn't actually the result that people want. Let's pause on that one for a second and talk about that other main reason that people consume content. Let's go back to that 5th micro moment, the I want to watch impulse. The second main reason that people consume content is because they want to be entertained, or maybe they're bored, maybe they want to be not bored, or they want to feel inspired or feel angry or feel motivated, something in that kind of world. Whatever flavor of that they pick, it's all some kind of emotional transport or emotional change. The audience wants to feel things. Preferably things that are different than what they were feeling before they consume the content. They want to change their emotional state. And that is what the core of what entertainment is. Anywhere, on any platform, at any time, the result of entertainment is that the audience feels something. So let's go back to that other reason that audiences consume content, to get answers to questions. That is just the surface level of things. What people actually want is the result of the answer, not just the answer itself. Now, if you've heard the conversation that I had in the episode talking with Tim Schmoyer, that's episode number 8, we had a conversation about an analogy from Seth Godin talking about people who want a 1/4-inch drill bit. And this is not what they ultimately want. So I did some digging, and I found in Seth Godin's book, This is Marketing, here's what he says about the 1/4-inch drill bit and what it actually means. The lesson is that the drill bit is merely a feature, a means to an end. But what people truly want is the hole that it makes. But that doesn't go nearly far enough. No one wants a hole. What people want is the shelf that will go on the wall once they drill the hole. And actually, what they want is how they'll feel once they see how uncluttered everything is when they put their stuff on the shelf that went on the wall, that now that there's a 1/4-inch hole. But wait, they also want the satisfaction of knowing they did it themselves. Or perhaps the increase in status that they'll get when their spouse admires the work. Or the peace of mind that comes from knowing that the bedroom isn't a mess and that it feels safe and clean. People don't want to buy a 1/4-inch drill bit. They want to feel safe and respected. They don't want the drill bit. They want the feelings from the shelf on the wall. So, personal example. Recently, we had a situation at our home with our dishwasher, and it came loose from its mount not completely, but just kind of on one side, and it was driving my wife nuts because it would shift back and forth every time that she would open and close the dishwasher door, which means that not all is right in the world, and this is just not okay. And Chantel was definitely not happy about this. She was getting more and more annoyed with this dishwasher. So I, of course, want my wife to be happy. So I wanted to reattach the dishwasher. So open up the door, take a look. Number one question is, how on earth can I find out where this thing attaches to what piece? So I started digging and I started looking, and thankfully there was an opening where I could see that there was a mounting screw that had come loose from a wooden frame. And so that was the first step. So I figured out that I needed to reattach the screw to get the dishwasher back in place. Only problem was there was no way that I could get to that screw. There's a cover in place, and the top rack of the dishwasher was blocking access to that. And so I thought, okay, what next? So I thought, let's try removing that top dishwasher rack and see if I can get that out and get access that way. Couldn't. I was looking at the front and the back of the rails where the thing was sliding, and looking for ways to get the thing off the rails without breaking anything, and I could not figure out how to work. So I was having a want to know micro moment. How the heck do you get this crazy dishwasher rack out of the top of a GE dishwasher? So thank you, YouTube. I go to YouTube and I looked up how to remove top rack from GE dishwasher. Would you believe it popped up some videos, and I watched one of the videos and it gave some suggestions, and the suggestions didn't work. Awesome. One of the suggestions was that you actually use a screwdriver to remove the tab from the end of the dishwasher rail. And I tried doing that, but I swear I was this close to actually breaking the thing. And I was sitting there thinking, okay, this is where things get real, because I do not want to break the tabs at the end of the rails of this dishwasher rack, because then it's going to slide completely out and there will be nothing keeping it from working correctly like it should. And that would have been far worse than just having the dishwasher unit shifting a little bit. So I gave up trying to remove the rack, and I'm sitting there scratching my head, still feeling annoyed at my lack of options, and it's taking more time, which that's the bigger thing that starts poking at me pretty quickly, is when I lose track of my time. And the possibility that my wife might still end up frustrated. So then I figured, well, let's see if I can access that mounting bracket anyway with the rack still in. So I fiddled around with it some more, got a longer neck screwdriver and put it through the rack, attached, got in at a crazy angle, and I ended up being able to attach that screw, get that screw back into the mounting bracket, and ta-da, the dishwasher was firmly attached to the frame again. Unfortunately, it wasn't totally straight. It was still slightly crooked, but at least it didn't move around. So that was a good thing. And Chantel stopped feeling annoyed at the moving dishwasher. I felt relieved that I hadn't broken the thing and that I didn't have to do any more problem solving. And most importantly, I was able to help my wife, and I felt accomplished for being a problem solver, and I was happy that I was able to help my wife. So what was the role of YouTube here? YouTube was offering up solutions to my problem so that I could have the feeling of solving the dishwasher situation, so I could have the feeling of helping my wife. People consume content because they want things. 9 out of 10 times, they either want to change an emotion or they want an answer to a question. But even if they think they want the answer to a question, they don't actually just want the answer. They want the feeling of having the answer. So in the overwhelming majority of cases, the end game for people who consume content is that they want to feel things. Something to do with feelings. And for the record, I'm not saying that all feelings have to be huge, explosive, earth-shattering, or soul-crushing, or just the big stuff. Sometimes we do want the big home run feelings, but a lot of times it's more about a single if we want to talk baseball. It's more of getting a base hit or a double, something smaller like a removal of annoyance or satisfaction at getting the answer, or maybe a sense of superiority because you have the answers that other people might not have. Now, at this point, someone might say, so are you saying as creators that all we have to do is just make people feel things? So just skip to the end and have them feel stuff and nothing else matters? And the answer is absolutely not. The process definitely matters. One of the things on my personal bucket list is to hike to the summit of Macchu Pichu. I have some friends who've done that. I've heard stories of other people who've done that. It's a multi-day hike through the mountains of Peru in South America, and it is not for everyone. It is hard. But the feeling of accomplishment that you get when you make the hike and you reach the top of that mountain makes the hike worth it. And the feeling of having that experience just does not happen if you take the easy way up the side of the mountain in a tour bus and you snap some selfies and you get bored and then you go back in the bus and ride back down in time for dinner back in the city. The feelings are tied to the process, and the process matters. This is why the idea of story structure is such a big deal. The story is the process, and the best stories result in change, and usually a change in emotional state for the characters or the audience. The characters or the audience end up feeling things. One of my favorite quotes on this idea comes from the poet Maya Angelou. She said, "I've learned that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel." This is true in life, and it is absolutely true as content creators. If we can make our audience feel things, our audience will care about our content. So the question that people tend to have is, great, so how do we make people feel things? And that's what we're actually going to dig into in the next episode. But for the moment, I'm going to wrap up here with another quote from one of the original Mad Men, a guy by the name of Eugene Schwartz. Eugene Schwartz was one of the most respected and highly paid marketing minds in the history of advertising. He wrote a ridiculous number of advertising campaigns, countless headlines, countless sales letters, and he wrote 10 different books, including one that some people consider the best book on copywriting ever written. It's called Breakthrough Advertising. And just as a quick side note, sometimes this trips people up. We're not talking here about having a copyright or having ownership or control of something. Right now, I'm talking about someone who is a copywriter is someone who writes copy, words, headlines, articles, that sort of a thing. And if you ask any marketer or copywriter who's actually supporting themselves with their work, they will tell you that understanding the feelings of their audience is absolutely critical to creating content. A lot of people have tried to use copy and other kinds of content to drum up emotion in their audience. And usually that doesn't work very well. And even in the times when it does seem to work, it's not actually because of the content itself. It's because of the audience and what they feel. Schwartz says this in his book, Breakthrough Advertising. Here's what he says. Copy cannot create a desire for product. It can only take the hopes, dreams, and fears that already exist in the hearts of millions of people and focus those already existing desires onto a particular product. This is the copywriter's task, not to create this mass desire, but to channel and direct it. I'm going to read this again and swap out a few words for the conversation here. Content cannot create emotion by itself. It can only take the hopes and dreams and fears that already exist in the hearts of millions of people and focus those already existing desires in a particular direction. This is the content creator's task, not to create this mass desire, but to channel and direct it. So here we are. As creators, we see that our audience wants to feel things, and any content we create plays a role in helping that happen or not happen. And on top of that, we can't actually create those feelings. We can shape the process, but the end result is up to the audience. Now, at this point, you might be wondering, okay, how does that work? How do we shape that process of actually helping our audience feel things? And that's what we're going to dig into next time. For now, I would be curious to know what you think about all this. Do you agree, disagree? Think I'm completely out in left field on some of this stuff? I would love to hear what you think. I'm always looking for ways to update how I think about these ideas. So if you'd like to leave a voice message with some of your thoughts or with a comment, check out the show notes for a link on how to do that, and maybe we'll use your comment in a future show. And if you're feeling something along the lines of, okay, these are some interesting ideas, but how do I actually apply them to my own stuff? Then you should definitely join us in our creator community called The Green Room. It is our private community that's all about helping you level up your content, level up yourself, and get things done with the support of an active community of creators like you. You can get started right now at the link in the description below. I'll see you there.